Thanks, Jessica. So, as you mentioned, my name is Lissa Radke. I'm the Community Development Educator in Ashland, Wisconsin for UW Extension, and I'm very happy to introduce two of my great neighbors in Ashland County, Sarah Beadle and Landis Fickerman. Sarah Beadle is the Marketing and Membership Manager at the very popular Schwamigan Food Cooperative in downtown Ashland. And Sarah will highlight for us this morning some of the important ways that roles that the food co-op has to bring healthy local food to the region. And then we'll hear from Landis Spickerman, who farms with her husband Steve on the beautiful Hermit Creek Farm in the rural town of Highbridge, just south of Lake Superior. Hermit Creek products have been sold at the food co-op and around the region since 1993. So let's start with a bit of background about the Food Cooperative, which is a member-owned corporation with over 3,000 members. It originally started as a buying club for people in the Schwamigan Bay area of Lake Superior who wanted to purchase wholesome food in bulk. In 1976, the Food Co-op incorporated and opened its first store, which it outgrew due to high demand for local healthy food. So in 2014, the co-op moved to its current very expansive store right on Main Street, where it's still thriving 9 years later. Sarah Beadle is the marketing director at the food co-op. She's worked there for 2.5 years and graduated from our local Northland College with a degree in sustainable community development. Sarah says she does a little bit of everything at the co-op, but focuses on enhancing its community impact through innovative marketing efforts that include organizing events like a kids food and fun festival and public tours of area farms. So welcome, Sarah, and thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you all for having me. Let's get this screen share going. Okay. Okay. So I'm assuming everyone can hear me all right. Thanks again for having me. My name is Sarah Beadle. I'm up at the Schwamigan Food Co-op in Ashland, Wisconsin, and that's way up north on the shores of Lake Superior. If you haven't been up here before, it's a gorgeous area. It's close to Bayfield. That might be the most recognizable town for you. But yeah, Ashland is a town of just under 8,000 people. So it's really awesome that we have such a great food co-op in this town. We're really lucky to have this establishment in such a rural area, which is sweet. And I'm happy to work here. And so I'm just going to start with a little bit about us. You're probably familiar with food co-ops, but if not, I've just got the cooperative principles up here right now, and as well as our community impact. And I just wanted to share a little bit with that. Some of the notable ones on here that you can see, mostly like our local sales is really awesome. 2 years ago, we hit over $1 million in local sales in 1 year. So that's really something that we're very proud of. Other things, just the growth in ownership, our micro loans, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Things like giving out fruits to kids who are coming in the co-op. And we always try and do local fruit when it's in season, or local carrots, things like that. Yeah, but also going back to the cooperative principles here, you can kind of see it's very community based, and what you don't see here is like some huge bottom line or extensive growth, just like unreasonable like profits that we're aiming for. We're really just trying to help the community as best as we can, and that's why we're a member-owned co-op. And so that's kind of the core of what we do here is support our community and do what our community wants us to see, which ultimately is local, sustainable, ethical foods, which is, yeah, pretty amazing. And so what is local for us? A local foods, what we have defined is 100 miles from our front door. Different co-ops will define this different ways. Some co-ops will say like, hey, it's within our watershed, or they'll do 250 miles, or they'll have like what's local, what's regional, what's statewide, different levels like that. But for us up here, we do 100 miles from our front door. And within that 100-mile radius, as I said earlier, we surpassed $1 million in local sales a couple years ago, which was huge for us. And I mean, that just kind of goes for saying too, like, we all do better when we all do better. So as we increase our store sales, our local sales are also going to increase with that. But right now on our shelves, we've got, these are numbers from 2022. We have 1,931 local SKUs on our shelves, which is pretty awesome as well. And by SKU, I mean one specific product. So that's not 1,900 local producers. That's a few different objects from each producer, say like our sauerkraut producer. They've got like 4 different kinds of sauerkrauts and kimchis and things like that. So each one of those is a different SKU. So 900 products altogether, or 1,900 products. But we do have 262 local producers and service providers. So not only do we want our local producers on our shelves, but we really want to have our local service providers in here as well. A good example of this is, say, like where we get our t-shirts printed. We get them printed down the street. Theoretically, we could probably do it online for a lot cheaper, but we're just going to go down the streets to keep our money in our community. Okay, so again, why should you sell at the co-op? I'm just going to go into this a little bit more, but locally owned, I mean, we're owned by everyone in our area. Our membership, as Lisa said, was just about 3,300, just a little bit over. And so they're all buying into our business. And most of those people, almost, I want to say 80% are within kind of that local hub, mostly Bayfield and Ashland County. We have microloans, which I'm going to really talk about in the next slide. We do work with you sometimes to provide lower margins for you. We really want our local products to be comparable to what we're buying, say, from like the huge organic farms in California and from our like Unify is where we get most of our products. And so we want you to be in line with those prices so people can still afford your products. I would also say though too, our customers are really great about buying local. So not always the biggest issue, but we also do community classes. What I've got on this slide right now is kind of a plethora of one of our local producers, Gil Schwartz of Northwoods Botanicals. He does mushrooms. He also does a line of CBD for us, which is really great. And he's also teaching a class in the lower corner there. And so a lot of our local producers have that opportunity to teach classes here, which is great to teach our community more about your product and kind of put that face behind your product as well. We do a lot of community donations as well. And so some of those we always prefer to donate to like some like farm related or food related economic development, things that are going to help our local producers. And a lot of that comes from our chip up at the register programs. So like one was really fun, like we get a lot of community gardens. We also get like our local healthcare provider does partnership with Hermit Creek Farm, and they do subsidized to free CSA shares for their low income patients, which is really cool. So things like that is what we want to help support. And then I do a lot of promotions. I'm going to talk a little bit about this one too, some more in a bit. But yeah, we're promoting specifically to our co-op crowd most of the time, and we're always trying to promote local. And so yeah, you're getting extra promotions from us, which is great, which is my job and I like doing it. So I'm here to help you, which is awesome. And yeah, as I said, our dedicated staff, not only promoting local, but our customers are here to buy local. In our surveys show too that one of the biggest things that they're looking for when they shop here is local products, and they're also willing to pay more for those local products, which is important too. Yeah, so they'll really champion your products as well as the staff. Going a little bit more into those microloans that I was talking about, we provide microloans to our local producers, and a lot of co-ops around the state do this. And if your co-op doesn't do this, maybe you could bring it up to them. But we do 2 rounds of this in the fall and in the spring, so kind of the off season, so you can prepare more for the summer, which is normally busy for most of our at least produce producers. And so those are capped at $5,000 and there's no interest on them, which is really awesome. And a lot of these producers supply our shelves, or, you know, they're starting up and we want to help them grow their business so that they can start supplying the co-op with us, with their products. A little more promotions that I wanted to go through. So we've got a newsletter that we do digitally. We have a weekly e-blast that we send out to our membership, plus anyone who signs up. So it's more than just our membership. And then our quarterly, we have a little magazine that we send out called The Grapevine. And that always has a producer profile in it, which I've got a photo of on the next slide. So that's another way that we promote our local producers. We also run local sales throughout the year. We can always help you put on a local sale, and we'll also do store-wide local sales occasionally. And we take the cut on that, so that's helpful for you all. And so we usually do it like 20% off for 3 days or something like that. We usually do it around Earth Day and a few other times throughout the year. So that's really great too, and it really draws more people into the store and specifically looking for those local items. And we'll do a lot of social media. I mean, honestly, if I'm bored and I'm not like, oh, what am I going to put on social media today? Like, my first go-to is, okay, what local product do I want to throw out there today? Who can I highlight? That's always what I'm trying to do. And within the store, we've got a lot of shelf level call outs. Everything in our store is highlighted in green that's local, so that helps. And we also put out like little bios of your farm or your business to, again, put that face behind the product. Every summer we are also doing farm tours, and so I've got a poster of that up there. It's one day in the summer where we have time to go visit 3 farms and we get a pretty in-depth tour behind them, which is really great, and our membership always really enjoys. I've got a photo below. That was one of the local cattle farms that's all grass-fed, and that was really fun. We got to go on a hayride around the property, go like probably miles out because they're rotating their cattle so much because it's grass-fed. So that was really cool to see. I'm going to move on. So yeah, as I said, that local producer spotlight that I do on a quarterly basis. This is one of the strawberry farms south of town here. And they are really great. And they've actually now, since here, they've expanded to honey as well. So it's really great to just show people like, hey, this is in our store, and you can also go to their farm like south of town. And people are always coming in whenever I put these out like, hey, I saw so-and-so in the grapevine. Where's their product in the store? I didn't realize you had this. Things like that, especially with some of the more value-added goods. A couple months ago, I did one on local frozen veggie burgers, and people were like, wow, I didn't realize there was a local option for veggie burgers. And it's like, yes, there is. And so that's been really great for them as well. So how do you get your product here though? You got to pitch us your product. I mean, as much as we want to sell every single local thing that we can, I mean, some suppliers don't have enough to keep their spots filled on the shelf, or they're just starting up, or sometimes, like, for example, soap. We sell so much local soap, and like every other person is making soap. We can't have like 20 different brands of soap as much as we want to. But so why is your product unique? What's your product made of? Do you have any like certifications? Like, what are your practices? Are you growing organically or as close to organically as you can? Things like that. What are you already doing to promote your product? If we can't find any info on your product, it's way harder for me to market your product if I can't just go on your website or social media or something and get a little blurb from you. Can you provide us with some samples so that we know what we're selling? Do you have clean and attractive packaging? Like, how yeah, how are you marketing yourself? And barcodes are a huge plus for that as well. Kind of skipping down to the bottom point here, making sure your labels and weights are accurate is super important. We do get audited sometimes, especially in like the meat section. People come in and make sure that all of our local producers and non-local producers are weighing their meats accurately. Yeah. So that kind of goes along with the next point too, is knowing the legal regulations and the licensing that you need to sell your products. We cannot sell your products if you don't know the legal regulations behind it. So for example, like I showed, Gail, our local producer, was doing CBD. And so we need to know, like, okay, what are the legal realms around this? It's not so cut and dry as selling us strawberries. So what goes on behind that? And then knowing the difference between wholesale and resale pricing, that can be a huge one too. You need to be selling us your product at a price that's good for you, but then you also need to know that we're going to mark up that price. And so pricing consistency, if you're selling elsewhere or at your farm store or your farm stand, how is that going to look? Generally, we're looking to, help you have a consistent price and things like that. And also importantly, invoices. We need to know that your invoices are being filled out properly, and we're going to work with you to say, hey, you need to have X, Y, and Z on this invoice. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard for us to pay you, and it's not going to be as smooth of a process. And so that's a big one as well that your buyers will work with you on. And then lastly here, I just wanted to note some challenges. And if you are able to like fill the challenges that your co-op is seeing, like that's great news for us. We're gonna try and pick up your product as much as we can. So for us, some of that is retiring producers or producers moving on to different things. Having added variety. As I said, we sell a lot of local soap, and like everyone else is making it. So it's not like we need more local soap in the area. We need more value-added goods is what we need. We need salsas or ketchups or hot sauces, things like that. That's not just produce coming off the shelves. And so we did have we still have a program called Chip In for the Kitchen, where we're trying to offset the cost for commercial kitchens for our producers. And so that has been going kind of hit or miss. We haven't had a lot of takers on it, but just trying to get more value-added goods is what that's doing. Some meat processing in the area is always hard to do. There's not enough inspectors in the area, and just like processing plants. A lot of our local meat producers have to take their meat downstate to get it processed, and that's actually caused a few people to retire from that process. And then of course, winter. If you can extend your growing season or whatever you're selling to us throughout the year, that's awesome. We want to have your product year round as much as you can have it year round. So that's what I've got. I hope I didn't go too much over time or too under, but and I think questions will be later. So we'll talk to you then.
Thanks, Sarah. That's fantastic. And I just want to point out this mural that's actually painted on the side wall of the mural and also mosaicked with beautiful color tile. And I believe you have Ojibwe words on there.
We do. Well. Yeah, it's really awesome. And it's honestly, one of the best parts about the co-op. It's just definitely a tourist attraction too. So we love people coming in the summer and just like standing in front of the mural, and yeah, it's beautiful. And we only did that a few years ago, so it's fairly new.
Yeah, I see people, it's an Instagram moment for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And posting them. So thank you so much, Sarah. That is really informative. And I know you've prompted me to have more questions, even though I've been a member since 2002. I just love the store. So many different beautiful options. The newsletter is fantastic. So I really encourage people to check your website and come up and visit. It's definitely a go-to destination when you're up in Ashland. We do have a lot of questions for you that we will take at the end. But next, I'd like to then introduce our next speaker, who is also a food producer and sells her products at the food co-op. This morning, we're delighted to welcome Landis Bickerman, who works and owns Hermit Creek Farm in Highbridge in Ashland County with her husband, Steve, since 1993. Hermit Creek has a beautiful website with lots of information about their sustainability efforts. I just wanted to highlight their core mission, which has multiple components of it that are really inspiring. One of their core missions is to create positive social change, which means improving the soil health and water quality, creating a healthy environment for themselves and all of their co-workers, which include a lot of students from nearby Northland College. They want to increase on-farm biodiversity with their products and, of course, be good stewards of the land. So I encourage you to read more about their whole mission statement at their website, hermitcreekfarm.com. But next, I want to introduce Landis Bickerman. Thanks for joining us. It's great to have you today.
Thank you for having me, and I really appreciate this opportunity. And I am going to jump right in. Talking about a little bit about my farm. So I'm from Hermit Creek Farm. I'm the main primary farmer, and I farm with my husband, Stephen. We're located about miles south of Ashland in the Pokey Hills. We farm about 140 acres, 12 of which are in vegetables, 6 other additional acres and cover crops. We raise 20 acres of hay. We have pasture pigs and grass-fed lamb. We have a small, about 3-acre apple orchard. And we usually have about 4 to 6 seasonal full-time employees. We're organic and real organic. 9 high tunnels, 1 heated greenhouse, and we use a mix of hand and tractor scale tools. And we deliver the product ourselves. So it's really kind of a mom and pop operation. So we've done many ways we've marketed over the years. Everything from off-farm to farmers markets to restaurants. We've landed on mainly CSA and direct wholesale, and that's what we're doing right now. So direct wholesale is selling at the price a distributor would get. We're not getting a retail price, and we're not getting the lowest wholesale. And that's kind of important when you set your prices to understand that part of it. Okay, so just to give you a brief definition, direct wholesale means you're selling at the price a distributor would get. You're not getting the retail price, and you're not getting the wholesale price. You're getting a bit of a markup. Next slide. So the keys to success with this avenue of selling is you've really got to have quality. Ideally, you have a unique product, and you have an opportunity to develop a brand. Next slide. And what the direct wholesale venues need from you is a consistent supply, regular communication, and they really need you to follow an ordering protocol with a reliable delivery system. They're busy people, and they have it's extra work for them to deal with small sales. And so anything you can do to make it easier for them and smooth is really important. Often you want to have a 100% guarantee, and obviously fair prices. Next slide. So We started working with the Schwamigan Food Co-op in 1993, and it was a pretty small produce department. In fact, they had no refrigerated produce case. We actually cold called them, walked in with samples, and offered them an array of, small bunches of lettuce and radishes and zucchini, and they decided to put in a produce case, and kind of the rest is history. I went to other grocery stores and literally looked at how things were bunched and how they were set up and how clean they were, and just copied them. Next slide. So at that point, we aim to have a diversity of products that help them fill the entire, produce case. And next slide. Over time, we kind of honed in on several signature crops. People have come and gone, and we've kind of adapted to what both the market pressure is and what our farm can produce. And those signature crops we've tried to brand. Next slide. So branding really is a way to develop a relationship with the end user. Our tagline is freshness you can taste, grown by farmers you can trust. And we want people to know us and our products, so they don't have to look for them in the co-op. And the co-op doesn't have to do the extra work to identify them. And in this slide, you can see our potato bags. And so anybody walking in would know that's ours. Underneath are also our winter squash, but it's hard to tell, that that's our, product. Next slide. So again, those tenets of a good direct wholesale relationship are closely followed. We supply consistently for 32 plus weeks out of a year, twice a week deliveries. That means then we have regular twice a week emails, plus because we're doing the deliveries ourselves, often face-to-face communications, which provide a ton of great feedback. I can literally ask the produce manager, how is the sale going? We've always offered 100% guarantee, and we've made it easy for the co-op. We make sure the produce that we're delivering is clean and packaged appropriately. And we've tried to find that sweet spot in pricing, that not too high, not too low, so everybody is happy. And we're certified organic. Next slide. So we start our season in January with a meeting with our produce department. We bring a crop list and an availability, and during that time we set our prices. And these, when they make their decisions, these aren't contracts, but we need a certain level of fidelity to our products. So we expect that past performance should give us some kind of status. And I think if you think about it, it's sort of a verbal agreement. It's not written in stone. I think that's part of that relationship marketing, where they understand we're doing our best to produce it. If there's problems with weather or disease or anything, that we're not shorting them because of looking for a better sale. We are giving them the priority of our product. At that point, we also kind of talk about how they want things delivered and any improvements. And then we look for those niches that can be filled. We often ask them, what would you like to have us grow? As a beginning of starting this process, we didn't expect to take away from any established grower, we really did look for those niches. Next slide. Then once the season begins, we email twice a week that availability of our crops, our pick list, so to speak. We, deliver the crops. We make sure they're clean and presentable, and ideally you want them shelf ready. You want them to be packaged the way they want them. So whether they're rubber band, hang tied, or bagged, it's important. They're busy people with many different farmers or, local producers coming in, and they don't have time to fix your crop. Make sure you deliver on time, and that's a big one because they have schedules. Next slide. You want to standardize your boxes and your counts. You want to include a box label with that identifies the product in it, the counterweight. It should have your farm's name and address and a lot number or at least the date. Include 2 copies of your invoices to be signed. You retain one and then they have one. And again, kind of like Sarah said, the invoice should be a certain, at least standardized, again, have your name, address, a date, invoice number. Next slide. So what works? What makes selling to a co-op unique? Well, it's a reliable and consistent outlet. You can go to the next slide. You're selling to the people who already know the advantages of your product. I mean, they're your people. Next slide. They're easy to access than large grocery stores. I mean, they are a welcoming store. They're looking for you. Your products often are selling there without you. Having done years of farmers markets, you have to be there to sell your product, and they're open when you're not there, and it's wonderful. Next slide. Often it can give you an outlet for the crops that might be easier for you to grow in your systems, like kohlrabi. They're willing to try. And they're really willing to work with small growers in small volumes. You don't have to have an acre of carrots. Next slide. So there are challenges besides weeds. They're small stores. They have low volumes, so it can make it hard to scale up, and you might outgrow the market. Next slide. It can be a crowded playing field. There's limit to how many growers they can serve. Go ahead to the next slide. And prices are often reluctant to increase, and that's oftentimes because of the California produce. And, those are the pictures up are a couple of good crops that are our signature crops, but we have by far outproduced what the co-op can use. So we've had to look for other places to market, so that can add complexity to your business. And next slide. You have less opportunity to educate the consumer you serve. For instance, like heirloom tomatoes, and they often are ugly, but they taste delicious, and you're not there to talk it up. And they usually require certified organic. They also have, for smaller growers, an affidavit program, but they do ask you of your growing practices. And obviously food safety and keeping that product in the cold chain is expected, and that incurs extra costs to you. Next slide. In conclusion, co-ops can be a really reliable and easy entry into a direct wholesale outlet. And they can diversify your marketing efforts, where you can learn how to kind of scale up your systems and can help you professionalize your business through branding. And it's a great way to connect with your community. I just love my co-op. That's it, all for me.
Thanks, Landis. That is such a beautiful slideshow and really helpful. You gave us so much information in a short amount of time. The questions are just rolling in. Let's see how much time we have. About 15 minutes. Okay. I'll start with Sarah and go back to a couple here. Someone had asked if you if you charge for any of your special events, like your farm tours or any of the special events you have for marketing.
Yeah, it depends on the event. The farm tours are free. Free, you provide your own transportation. Some of the classes usually have a small cost associated with them. It depends on what type of class it is. If it's a class where a producer is going to come in and they're going to give you a lot of product through it, or you're going to help make some product, we have like tea making classes and things like that, or medicine making classes. Those can be a little bit pricey. But other than that, we try and keep them low cost. And a lot of our community events, say we have a kids' day at the farmers market, that's free. We do a boo bash with the Ashland Parks and Rec, and that's free. So the bigger community events are all free.
Nice, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to a question for Landis. What are the parts of 100% guarantee of your products? Is it the number of pounds of produce per week or something else? Your agreements that you make with the co-op?
Sure. For me, if there's any problem with the product, I will gladly reimburse them for it. So any product we deliver, we will return. I do usually investigate, like ask what is the problem and like to see it if I can. But it's pretty just straight up, we are small enough that we can trace what happened, and it's easy enough to just offer that. And usually they're wonderful about saying it was only part of a product. It might be this one was too dirty, or that case didn't hold up. Yeah.
Okay, and I just want to welcome the folks who answered the question. If you have a follow-up, just raise your hand so we can see you, and we'll certainly invite you to do a follow-up question. Sarah, another question was about your practices with using social media posts or featuring in a newsletter. You don't charge any of your producers for those kinds of things. That's just free marketing of their products. Is that right?
Yeah, I can't think of any situation where we're charged to someone to promote their product. Usually I'm eager to do it and looking for, like it's helpful for me if you come to me and say, hey, I have all of these things already ready for you. Can you just put them on Facebook? Yes, I can. Or like posters in store, things like that too is really easy. And in the newsletters, I kind of try and do things like seasonally, something that fits within the theme. So summer, winter, fall, you know the seasons, but I just call someone up and say, hey, can I do this for you? We'd love to.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you do a good job of saying, like, I was thinking, what am I going to have for lunch today? And I looked at the Food Co-op's Facebook page, and there was a notice about the soup that day. And so I was like, that's what I'm doing for lunch.
Yeah, and Deli, we like to update that on the website too. So that's always available if you're up here.
So this is a question by the same person, Sarah. What are the best practices for pitching to a co-op? Are there sales materials you need? You mentioned it's great to bring in a sample. Are there price lists? Just what kinds of things would you like to get in a pitch?
Yeah, exactly those things you just listed. I honestly don't work I'm not buying products, so I might not have the best answer for you. But yeah, so understanding what you're going to sell to us at is important. Or if you're unsure, just like having questions for us, like, hey, what do I need to sell to you for? A sample is always good. Yeah, I mean, kind of going back to that slide I had listed out, we actually too, we're putting together a little pamphlet actually right now that's like selling to the co-op 101. Like, what do you need to do to sell here? So like also knowing like what are the if it's a value added product, knowing like what the allergies are, again, those like rules and regulations for selling here, just like coming to us and you saying, hey, I know what I'm doing, I know like all these processes is really helpful, but it's okay if you don't know those processes, we'll gladly tell them to you because again, we want to help you. So sorry if that wasn't the best answer out there, but
No, that's a great example. And we can tell from you, Sarah, the food co-op has warm and friendly people. I mean, I don't think it's like trying to go and pitch to Costco, you know,
absolutely not.
big corporate kind of formalities. So I think most co-ops would be receptive to hearing from new producers.
Yeah, I would also add like knowing the competition, if there is any for a product, like, hey, I want to sell you bread or something, or soap or wellness items. It's like, okay, well, mine's different because of X, Y, and Z.
Nice. And Landis, a question for you is, how do you figure out your markup on a product?
It's a complicated, system of knowing what your costs are. That should be your first step, is know exactly what it takes to grow it. And then you need to charge something above that. In general, I just follow usually industry standards. So like, for wholesale large quantities, it might be 25 to 45% markup. But I also do a lot of just investigation. I see what is on other store shelves and what other people are charging and try to not be so far out of the realm of that price. I don't want people to have sticker shock, but I do want to be profitable. So as a rule of thumb, I do 40% for the most part. It's not across the board. It partly depends on if kohlrabi is not a popular crop. So I have a lower markup on that. And our carrots are very popular and take a lot of infrastructure to grow. So I have a higher markup on that. It's kind of art and science.
Nice. And you've been farming so long, you probably get a feel for what your prices are. Are you making a profit on that enough to keep doing it or not?
Correct. That's very much it. Yeah.
Thanks. And Sarah, we have a question about the microloan program, which I think is fantastic. And every time I go, I'm asked to chip up, and either it's for the social group that you're sponsoring or for a farmer. And I always say yes, because it's such a valuable program. And in addition, those programs help to build the local economy and the goodwill and the community interactions even deeper than just, oh, I bought some food. So
absolutely.
Those chip up programs are spectacular. So the question is, are all microloans interest free for farmers or producers throughout the state, or was this something that you took on to be able to offer them?
Yeah, we chipped up at the register for a long time, just to kind of build this revolving bank that we've got, and they are interest free. There is a small closing cost. That is about it. I mean, it caps out at like probably $100 or something like that. Out of 5,000. Yeah, so those are all interest free, and we do cap it to our local producers, I believe. I mean, if you're a little bit out of the range or something like that, we would consider you. I mean, we're locally, I mean, we do like stretch into Minnesota as well, so it's not just Wisconsin either.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So I have a question, maybe both of you could answer this. Landis, you just mentioned a little bit about what your markup is, but a question is, assuming my product was approved for sales in a co-op, what kind of percentage are you looking for? If I cap the sale of my product at $25 to $30, at what cost are you expecting to purchase it from me? And then a second part is, are there minimum order quantities you like to work with?
Sure, that's really dependent on the buyer that you're working with and the department that you're in. It varies the markup and the quantity that you're selling to us. A lot of our more like home goodsy things, like we don't need a whole lot of on hand, but I mean, selling Landis's carrots, like we go through those. So it really depends on, I guess, how popular your product is for what we have on hand. We do have a smaller backstock, and that's going to vary from co-op to co-op, how much of a backstock that they can actually have. We have a very small backstock space and small fridges, so we can't carry too much of your product at once. If it needs to, especially if it needs to be refrigerated or frozen, things like that. We have a couple extra fridges and things, but not to store months worth of products. Absolutely not. I think that more or less answered the question. Oh, and the markup. Yeah. And that's going to vary by department. I don't know the markups offhand because I'm not actually doing that. So sorry about that. But if you want that information, I can absolutely get it to you at a later time.
It'd be great for anyone who's on the call today to go to the web link that Jessica's been putting in our chat. We're going to have contacts for all of the speakers, a copy of the recording, and the PowerPoint. So if you want to stay in touch with our two speakers, feel free to join them in that website link. I have time over one more question, a quick comment. Does UW Extension or some agency maintain a list of all co-ops? And that might be a question for Jessica. However, I know in UW Extension, we have a center for cooperatives. So I encourage you just to Google that. I don't have the web address off the top of my head, but there's lots of information on how to start co-ops, how to run them, maintain them, market them. So I would start that with that being your first choice. And Jessica's saying yes. So Google UW Extension Center for Cooperatives, and that's for food co-ops and all different types as well. I'm just going to close with a quick comment that I find so enchanting with both of our speakers, and sort of a common theme between your relationships are not just to food, but they go so much deeper than just what we're eating, into how we're building community with each other, both on a one-on-one relationship with farmers to stores and other markets, and between farmers and stores with the community at large. I mean, this is the essence of what it takes to build a community, one radish at a time, if you want to be silly about it. But it's a beautiful part of how food and food cooperatives can be a cornerstone for strong community building that goes deeper than just the soil.